Hi, this is your host, Daniel Gutierrez, with Awakening to Abundance, effortless abundance in all areas of life. I'd like to welcome you to our call today with today's guest, Harrison Klein. Harrison Klein has been one of the leading visionaries and pioneers in human potential movement that has developed multiple new teaching techniques designed to stimulate intellectual and cellular integration, internalizing, and transcendence. Harrison reveals how to unite your conscious, subconscious, super subconscious minds into the perfect universal alignment. Today you will discover a unique series of insights explaining the words I am and its profound effect on your life, how your self-components like consciousness, mind, and spirit are linked to the I am effect, awareness of the universal laws and how to apply the I am to manifest your greatest life, the benefits of knowing and applying principles of the self, what has been keeping you from achieving abundance up till now, and how to integrate the I am effect on a cellular level. Welcome, Harrison, my dear friend. How are you today?
I am sensational, wonderful, terrific, amazing, phenomenal, outstanding, incredible, awesome, turned on, tuned up, tweaked, happy, and inspired that I'm doing.
You have to be to get all those exactly the same way every single time. I love that. So, Harrison, I'm very excited about our call today. But before we get going, could you give the audience just a little bit, 2 or 3 minutes of, what were the major turning points in your life that have currently gotten you to this place of just incredible success?
Sure. Okay, we're going to take the short version. The short version is I was born into shame, anger, fear, guilt, and scarcity. The experience at my household was overwhelming and crushing. And the anger and the fear and the dialogues were never positive about anything. And so I was so sensitive to the intensity of the dark forces that I retreated into a dark place myself. I went into the state of what today might be diagnosed as Asperger's disease. It was a place where none of us could really, our consciousness could not make contact with other living forms, only inanimate forms. And so there was no eye contact, no auditory contact, no tactile contact, and very little mental stimulation. And what was going on inside of me was a huge raging of the fact that I wanted no thing as experience. So because experience caused me pain, so what Eckhart Tolle calls a pain body. And so I existed in that state for about 27 years or so, and I had no conversations with anybody, I had no friends, no connections, no ability to do anything, and the only interactions I had was how much is this and, what do I have to do here? Although I could read very well, I was really a precocious and advanced reader, simply because I spent all my time internalizing. So that gave me a doorway, without warning, that gave me a doorway to open a new portion of myself, because I went so deep in the dark place that I actually burrowed through the center of who I was, and I had almost 30 years, 28 years of compressed emotion that I never expressed, and so it became like a hot burning coal, and in one instant just went and exploded. All those negative emotions just went like the Big Bang Theory in all directions, and suddenly I found myself in this vortex of spinning white light traveling through the universe at a velocity beyond my capacity to explain. What was coming at me were colors and patterns and noises, and I was watching planets form and deform, and I was watching suns, being created and collapsing, and amazing things were happening. And again, I didn't know how long I was in there. So it could have been 2 minutes, could have been 10 minutes, could have been 2 hours. I have no idea. But when I was deposited back in my body, there was a turning point in my life. That point was very dramatic, because all those symptoms of Asperger's, where I couldn't speak, I couldn't hear, I couldn't see, I couldn't feel, had been eradicated. It was eliminated. Everything that I'd ever done that was negative, or every judgment I ever made, had been absolved. And that was exactly the message I got. My thoughts were clear. My vision was, all of my senses were highly enhanced in a most dramatic way. So I had acute, high sensory perception beyond what I could have even imagined ever. And that state of mind is the thing that set me onto the path of discovery. And suddenly, from being in this dark cocoon place, not knowing what was going on around me or in me on a continuous basis. Suddenly my awareness was dramatically catapulted into much higher realms and much higher frequency and vibration. And from that space on, my discoveries began to come, and communication began to be, and I was articulate, and I became intelligent, and I became successful, and all the things that followed from somebody who was absolutely like autistic. So it was a miracle. It was truly a miracle. And
wow, what a story. And, you know, it makes me think about autistic children if they have some of that, what you had, that they, you know, because it is internalized for them. And what a great thing that happened for you that allowed you to basically release yourself into this place you are today, and an enormous success that you're having teaching what you're teaching. So congratulations on that. It's always amazing for me to hear your story every time, just because of that. Just very hard and difficult for me to comprehend, because that wasn't my experience. But what a great thing that you are here today as the teacher that you are for many of us, including myself, teaching us these powerful principles that propel people's lives into incredible places. Harrison,
the universe thanks you.
You know, in our business, in the business of self-help, transformation, transmutation, there are always words out there that tend to come into existence that sometimes we kind of play around with and we really don't understand, but because they sound good and they become part of the language of that industry. The two words that I'm thinking about right now that are tossed around a lot lately is I am. The two words I am. But I know that you have a kind of a unique series of thoughts, ideas, and insights on that. Could you share those with us? I mean, how profound that is, and explain what it means and the effect that it has on us.
Well, the words I am are the two most powerful words on the planet, because they are, in point of fact, reflective of and invoke the source energy. Because when God said I am, that is his vibration, the vibration of all that is, all that ever will be, all that has been, and all that is infinite. And the I ams are really an announcement to the world of our existence, our beingness, and which by definition becomes a identity factor, which is a condition, a true condition of an announcement to the universe of who we are, okay, and which is the most important question we can ask ourselves at any given point. Who am I? There's two huge questions on the face of the planet which are primary to all other questions. The first one is who am I? And the second one is what am I feeling right now? And so the identity of the I am is the condition of finding oneself, not another. And that activates this energy, and it creates our first cause of being. So everything stems from the I am. Without an announcement of who we are, the universe doesn't know what to give us, at least not in this biosuit of a human form. So in actuality, our identity is our relationship to the world. Most of us are unconscious about the way we use I ams. Not that we're unconscious, but we use them haphazardly and undeliberately. We say, I'm sick, I'm angry, I'm having a terrible experience, I'm so touched, I'm so, whatever, I'm so clumsy, I'm so, athletic, whatever. We use them in negative ways or in ways that don't serve us because we don't understand the true force and meaning of the whole thing. Our identities are the place from which everything stems. Our identities are the first answer to understanding consciousness. Without identity, we have no consciousness. We are in the formless. So this is an incredibly important understanding. And so the whole process is that it demonstrates that being comes first. And being is a state of mind which cannot be explained. You can't explain a state. You can't do a state. You can only be a state. And that state is whatever you announce or attach the words I am becomes that state of mind that you're in at any given moment. And every time you use the word I am, the universe arranges for the attachment of those I ams to become your experience. So when you say I am a great radio talk show host, or I am a sexy, sexy, sexy MF, you start to experience those situations. As we dig deeper, we most of us use our I ams subconsciously. We believe our identity is permanent, but it's not. Our identity rests on our I ams. And so how we identify ourselves in relation to the world is how we experience the world. How do we know ourselves? We know ourselves in relation to other people, to other things, to objects, to experiences, to energy, to whatever. I mean, the only way we understand ourselves is by this principle of relationship. So the question is, do we know what our primary I Ams are? Do we identify ourselves as wealth, or do we identify ourselves as poor? Do we identify ourselves as strong, or do we identify ourselves as weak in character? Do we identify ourselves as brilliant, or do we identify ourselves as stupid, or whatever the case may be, or any of the degrees in between all that? But the identity of the I Am invokes the source energy in order to make whatever you attach to those words happen in your experience. It is the first cause of your thought, which is consciousness. When you use the words I am, you invoke your consciousness, or you invoke your identity in consciousness, which then gives you the thoughts of that particular state of mind. So if you say, I am happy, you're going to start experiencing happy thoughts. You say, I am a doctor, you're going to start getting thoughts from the principal beingness, or from source, about your doctorship. If you say, I am a great lawyer, or I am a great housewife, or I am a great mother, or a great dad, like you do all the time, which I love. Or as grandmother says, I am the collective consciousness of all the beings that came before me. I love that, So that is an incredible I am statement, probably the most powerful one, or one of the most powerful ones I've ever heard. But I am so attuned, and we get so attuned to being unconscious of our I Ams, that when we start to become conscious of it, we see the synchronicities of everything that's around us. For example, when Obama and McCain were, not this time, I didn't follow the election this time, but in the first election of Obama, when McCain was campaigning for president, he said, I am a maverick. And when Obama was campaigning, McCain's strongest identity that he was trying to get across to the people was he's a maverick, he's not from Washington. Obama said, I am the one we've all been waiting for. And that very instant, I knew by the power of the I Am that there would be no question as to who won, because the I Am state was that much stronger. And that's what penetrates our connection with all things, our relationship to all things. So it's a journey, and the journey that we invoke by using the words I Am, invoke the law of attraction. They invoke the changing landscape of our experience on a continuous basis. But if we take an image of who we are, which an I Am will give us, if we say, I am a great athlete, or I am a good athlete, or I am a great cook, or whatever the case, you start to form an image inside of your mind. And that image is always connected to your subconscious, which then programs your behavior around everything you know about the topic that you are giving yourself. So it's a tremendously dramatic experience to understand what the I Ams are, and they in fact run our lives. So every experience that we have comes initially from some I Am statement within us, some I Am declaration. And make no mistake about it, a lot of people think when you say I am wealthy, that's an affirmation. It's not an affirmation. It's a declaration. It's an announcement to the universe of what you want to experience. So when you say I am depressed, that's an announcement to the universe to experience depression. So we have helped people change their entire demeanors around depression, anger, fear, health, all kinds of things, simply by using I Am statements. They're that powerful. We have had people go from poverty to wealth. We have had people go from deathbed experiences and deathly sick experiences into pure health. We have helped people go from no relationship with the opposite sex to being flooded by other kinds of the other sexes. As we get clear about how we use our I Am, we are invoking the law of attraction by the simple use of the words I Am. And that's more powerful than anything you can do, because the I Am is what creates the images and the thoughts that move our mind in order for the subconscious to grab hold of, to then program us in behavior and in physical reality. So that's a pretty amazing thing to have happen with two little words.
Yeah, no, it's actually incredible. What's the relationship between I Am and our self-components like consciousness, mind, and spirit?
Again, I Am is the initiating force that moves that thing. It's the first principle, because it provides the answers to your consciousness. It provides the first thing in your consciousness. The words I am are the first place of your consciousness. It's our connection to source, really. So being always is, has been, and always will be. It's eternal. And, I can wax poetically about that till the end of the day, but being is a state, and we can't explain a state. We can't do a state. We can only be a state. So we can't even have a state. So identity, or I am, is the foundation of being. So when we understand our consciousness, our subconscious, and our superconscious, those are three decision-making entities within us that are independent of each other. They are connected, but they make decisions for us independently. The conscious mind was designed to do only two things, which is focus and choice. That's all it was designed for. Every other use of it is a misuse. All the judgment, all the analysis, all the anger, all the descriptive fashions are really a diminution of what the conscious mind was. The conscious mind is only designed for choice and focus. If you're doing mathematics, of course, it's you can do analysis because now you're using it as a tool. But when we emotionally have outbursts about something in the conscious mind because of our conscious mind, it's a misuse of the conscious mind. The subconscious mind was designed to be an automatic pilot. So when you say something in the conscious mind, it sends a signal to the subconscious mind, which then compares it to all of your experience. When you say, I am wealth, it then sends a signal to the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind then will compare it with everything that you've ever experienced in your life and weigh it. Is that on the positive side or is it on the negative side? So if it's on the positive side, the subconscious mind makes a decision to give it to you. If it's on the negative side, it makes a decision to block it. If it stays in harmony with you, if the subconscious mind says yes, I'm giving you what you have asked for in that degree. And we always get what we ask for, but we don't know how to ask correctly. But when it says yes, I'm in harmony with that to give you the experience you want from that situation, then it sends a signal to the superconscious mind or the higher self, which then goes out into the matrix of all things and brings you back the experiences, the information, the people, the whatever else we need to go through the request that we have made in our I am, or in our original statement. Now, the I am can overcome subconscious decisions simply by the fact that if you focus on the I am, you allow the presence of source to be in. You start to invoke your God presence or pure love, and in the pure love, actually, all negative things heal. So that process is really interesting because if you stay in an I am strongly, our job as manifestors is to simply hold an image long enough for it to manifest. We don't do any more than that. We give it emotion and just hold that image long enough for it to manifest with emotion. And that's all our job is. It's as simple as that. Everything else is a misuse of it. So we do that anyway unconsciously, but when we do it consciously, we become extraordinarily powerful. But when we create a new reality through a new I am, a bigger version, a more sensational version of ourselves, we actually dissolve the old reality because there's no energy or no attention being given to sustain its physical presence. So this is the power of the I am. No other force on earth can do that. So you don't have to go through blockage clearing and all those other things. Basically what you have to do is create an image of yourself in a much bigger way and hold that image for a long enough time, which can be, depending upon the level of our resistance, it can be anywhere from seconds to weeks or months or years. But if we hold the image with emotion, we accelerate the process very, very dramatically. It's really something very, very special. So, and if you break it down, basically I am is the first cause, thinking is the second cause, speaking is the bridge that goes into physical reality, and then action is our preparation to receive what we've created. And it's pretty much as simple as that. And what that means is that thought and action do not create. They allow and they receive, and that's all there is to it. It's cause and effect relationship. So that's how the principle works. And
wow. It's just amazing. I always get so excited speaking with you, Harrison, because it's, you said that holding in your mind what is true until it presents itself. One of the things that kind of came up that I wanted to ask you for those that are listening in is, and I guess this is the intellectual mind asking this question, how do we know how long we're supposed to hold it?
You're supposed to hold it till it comes true.
It shows up.
Well, it shows up.
I answered my own question.
Well, here's the other thing, too, that, understand that if your thoughts are 51%, when it comes to a particular topic, if they're 51% on the ledger side of what you want, you're going to achieve what you want. The way it shows up is the predominant thoughts that you have around a particular thing or the predominant image. Most of us we've been programmed from the time we were children through education and media and well-meaning but misinformed parents and friends and teachers that, we don't have control over those things, but we actually have full control over those things. So we only have to know how it works. Once you step under the hood and know how it works, then it's very easy to use it. We get to use the illusion instead of being used by it, which is the issue that most of us, find when we find ourselves in lack. We're used by illusion because we don't understand how to step into the control spot. And the control spot always starts with an I am. So, most people walk around saying I am not worthy or I am, whatever, and those kinds of issues, affect everything else that happens because everything is in record in the universe. Everything is in record about ourselves. I mean, by the law of karma, every single thing that we think, do, say, and experience has meaning, and so goes into our cosmic record books, if you will, and creates an effect. So,
Are there any other laws and principles that you think that we should be aware of right now in regards to manifesting the I ams?
Everything works on two primary laws of the universe. One is, karma, or the law of cause and effect, and the other one is the law of correspondence. There's the law of abundance too, but this is how the world really works. It's the law of correspondence. The law of karma is the law of as what goes around comes around. As you sow, so shall you reap. What you give, you get. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Those are all different words for the same thing. But as you know, that these kinds of things are the glue that hold the universe together. They are really the place that is immutable, incontrovertible, and then can't be deviated from. We all experience karmic situations. We can break the grid as we step through a different dimensional portal. When we start to move through these kinds of things like the ascension, we break the grid, and then karma no longer becomes part of us. But in the third and fourth dimension that we live in, most of us live in, we have to deal with the idea of, what goes around comes around. So the idea, when you understand that, is to plant good seeds. Sow good seeds. Don't sow bad seeds. Don't sow anger, frustration, fear,
You know what's interesting about what you just said, and this is an experience I recently had while I was in Nepal. I was in Kathmandu, and I was walking by a store that had knives and whatnots. It was like a knife store. And the gentleman wanted me to pull in and say, what about would you like to have one of these knives? Maybe it was a gun. I don't know what it was, but it was something that alarmed me to think this thought. And the thought was, what force? I mean, that's to kill somebody is, and the guy looked at me, and that was my comment to him. It like had this gesture that I was making with like the knife cutting my throat. And he said to me, live right, and you don't have to worry about that. And I think he was saying what you were saying about the thoughts, that if you go there, then if you don't go there with your thoughts, you don't have to worry about that.
Correct. Right.
Is that what he was saying? I mean, very interesting what you said and what he said. He said it in a very nonchalant way, but he was saying if you don't have those thoughts, you don't have to worry about that. That's not what this is for. Very interesting.
That's right. Well, how we interpret it is really how we experience it. So the universe works on the law of resonance, or if you will, the law of correspondence, which states that like attracts like. So the law of resonance is actually the law that allows the law of attraction to work. It dictates that any form of energy can only harmonize or come into lasting contact with energies of similar frequency, which means that your thoughts will bring you exactly what in experience, what you are radiating out. So everything in the known universe, including matter, breaks down into units of energy, waves, and particles, and every unit of energy, as well as the formations of energy that create light and color and sound and thought and emotion and matter, has a frequency or a rate of vibration. Thoughts have a frequency. Being has a frequency. They all are vibratory things. So we can only attract or create in our experience that which resonates with our frequency. So if we have a frequency of anger or fear, we track that in. There's only two things that activate the law of attraction. One is love and the other one is fear. In whatever degrees we have it, those are the activations, and there's the neutrality. But everything works on a rate of vibration. Therefore, the law that tells us that to attract what we desire, we have to vibrate at the frequency of what we desire. Or to attract what we don't desire, we're still vibrating at that frequency. If we're pushing against something, we're vibrating at the frequency we don't want, and by the law of resonance, it attracts that into our lives. So it's an inevitable scientific law. So the key is to learn not how to attract, but learn, what are we attracting? So the question is, what are we attracting? So that is a key question. And so we can deliberately attract into our lives what we want. If we don't deliberately attract, we step into a default pattern. So what I want to teach about that is that every time we don't empower ourselves with a particular deliberate thought, we get overpowered by the collective consciousness. So the collective consciousness is fear, ambition, and greed manifest in all things like government and wars and, hurricanes and all those other things. Those are collective consciousness. When we don't have a particular independent thought about something, we get overpowered by the collective. That we start to experience the thoughts of the collective, which are fear, ambition, greed, all kinds of negative stuff. If we're not satisfied with what our lives are right now, then all we have to do is to change our vibration. And changing our vibration is really fairly simple, and that is to simply make a decision and understand that the vibration is what we feel. Vibration is what we feel. So if we can feel something, we can receive it or we can create it. So good feelings mean you're in a positive frequency. Bad feelings means you're in a negative frequency. So, and you can change your frequency at any time simply by changing how you feel, and then everything around you has to change because you're of the law of correspondence to be on this new frequency. It's really fairly simple. We so complicate it that it makes people crazy. They think they have to go through gyrations and do this and that. Be disciplined about this or that. None of that's true. All that is that's our human body trying to our human mind and our human acculturation trying to break through something that we've been educated and conditioned to say, think, and feel. None of that is true. In the quantum field, we don't have to go the distance between A and B. In the third-dimensional field, in physical field, to get to point B from point A, you have to go the distance between point A and B. In the quantum field, there are no conditions. You can be at point A and B simultaneously. You don't have to do any of that. So as we understand that, that's just a change in frequency. And there's no space that you have to cross in between. And this is the beauty of our understanding these principles and these laws that affect the world. Lack is an illusion. Abundance is the truth. So, this stuff isn't hard. It's so simple that what happens is that we ignore it or deny it because our human nature is about complexity. Because we're conditioned into complexity to not be able to figure things out. That's how we're conditioned. We're not conditioned about relationships. We're not conditioned about life. We're not conditioned about making money. We're not conditioned about, we're just given information on how to serve, in society of itself. And that is not a way to freedom. To understand the laws of the universe, to understand our I ams, is the way to free your mind of all things, and then your life becomes exactly as you desire it at any given point. So the answer to the first question is yes. Who am I and what am I feeling? And the law of karma and the law of resonance are what create everything. And they're very simple laws.
Harrison, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, again, your knowledge is just mind-blowing. You and I could do a 3-hour call, which still would never finish. But in the essence of time, I gotta wonder that there's probably people listening right now that are thinking themselves, this knowledge is so incredible that you're sharing with us. And this knowledge could be let me just ask it this way. What keeps us then from achieving the results that we're looking for? What really keeps us from achieving the truth of abundance? What is the universal stopper, I guess, that maybe some of the people listening may be experiencing where it's like, wow, I get this intellectually, but it's not coming to be in my life. What keeps that from actually becoming abundance in their life?
Inner contradiction. There are two things that keep people from being wealthy. The studies are very clear on this. Ask any person who's really, really dramatically understands the law of money or abundance, and what they will tell you is that two to three things that keep us from having what we want in any way are shame, guilt, and fear. Those are the things that keep us from having anything because they're contradictory to the law of love. They're contradictory to the laws of abundance. They're contradictory to the laws of correspondence and karma. When we have shame, fear, or guilt, what we do is we erode ourselves, and then we say we're not worthy, and by the law of resonance, we attract the fact that we're not worthy, so we can't get through it. It's as simple as that. Does that make sense?
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, is that why you say that in this world we get what we are, not what we want? Well, what do you mean by that?
Oh boy, that is a major principle. That is the biggest thing you can understand next to the I am. In this world, what happens is the physical world that we are in responds to, again, the vibration. So, it's not about what we want. It's not about focusing on what we want in order to get that. That's not how it works. You can focus all you want and still not get what you want if you integrate it into who you are, the I am, okay? If you don't make it as part of your identity to experience that, you cannot experience it. So that's why the law of attraction doesn't work for so many people. That's why the law of resonance, seems to be askew for so many people. So how do you do that? So the question is, how do you do that, right? And how do we integrate what we want as who we are? Well, we have a physical experience of it in our feelings. So when you have manifested something, for example, when you've manifested, $50,000 and you didn't expect that, or when you've manifested and you've worked to achieve it, you have a particular feeling. It's a vibration that you have been sending out, radiating in order to get that into your experience, right? So if you don't send out any radiation, or your values are low on a particular area, or, they're not a priority for you, the radiation that you're sending out, or the radiance, or the frequency that you're sending out, only brings back what you've already sent out. So we have to be this state of mind. We have to be this state of abundance in order to experience the state of abundance. We have to first make that decision internally, and before we make it externally, before we experience it externally. Nothing in the entire world and the entire universe is resolved within us. It's not resolved out. There's no out there. There's only in here. And so once we begin to understand that the out there is only an illusion of what's in here, the Buddhists say we are not in the world is in us. And once you understand what that is that you experience what you want internally. So you become that thing. It floods all of your 63 trillion cells to the point of where you are communicating with all the forces that bring those things into your life. So happiness, abundance, joy, love, those are the things that multiply and accelerate our experience. And when we feel them and couple them with a particular experience that we want, we become that experience. In other words, you can't do wealth, you can only be wealth. And in the being of wealth, you attract wealth to you. So that's one portion. I know this is simplistic and it's kind of a repetition of what I said, but what we're talking about here is that as you integrate, as you feel the state of wealth, then the state of wealth must come to you. As you feel like $1 million, you will get $1 million. If you're walking around feeling shitty, which is completely in your control. I mean, I can tell you stories of all kinds of stuff, but it's completely in your control. If you're walking around feeling like, you're angry or depressed, that will keep you from having money, because every time the law of attraction or whatever works on the principle of love, or joy, eagerness, and excitement. So when you are feeling good about things, they are attracted into your experience. When you're feeling bad about things, the bad things or the badness is attracted into your experience. You cannot have negative thoughts about wealth. You can't think people are greedy and wealth is greedy and it's all, and money is not good or it's evil or the root of all evil, and then experience wealth. Those two things are contradictory. You can't have inner contradictions and expect to get something, because you get a wash. Okay? They cancel each other out. So when you have inner contradictions, that's inner contradictions. You don't get the force acting on your behalf. Most people walk around with multiple ideas about the same thing. I want to go to Timbuktu. No, I want to go to Nepal. No, I want to go to India. No, I want to go to Jamaica. All those kinds of things. You have multiple things going on in the same space. Your mind and the universe cannot hold for you two opposing thoughts simultaneously. You can't be angry and be happy at the same time. You can't be disappointed and be happy at the same time. You can't be feeling hate and love simultaneously. It doesn't register inside of you. You know, you're either going to choose the dominance of one or the other. If you choose the love, you are multiplying whatever it is you want when you give love to that. If you choose the hate or the anger, you're going to multiply that, okay? So you're only going to get more of what you put energy into. That's how it works. So whatever, the word manifestation means to invest attention into. Attention is our life force. Our life force is equal to our consciousness, it's equal to our love, and it's equal to our state of being. So when you remove attention from something, it dissolves. When you add attention to something, it grows. That's why if you're focused on blocking or unblocking yourself, you're just going to get more of blocking yourself. Okay? If you focus on what you want, the new reality that you're creating dissolves the old negative. Okay, and that is the beauty of it, and this is the cutting edge kind of stuff that we're teaching and we're promoting, and we're teaching people how to do in ways that create enormously, potent experiences and miracles for people. So, again, a lot of people out there try to give you steps 1, 2, 3, 4 to do, and then by the time you're in the 7th or 8th step, you've forgotten what the first and second.
So true.
But the universe is very simple. It's not trying to hide anything from us, It's all there for our examination. It's all there for our use because it wants to give. That's what it does. The universe just gives, and that's what it does. And so when we understand how all this works, we just simply allow it to give us what we've asked for. And the only thing that stands in our way is us or our resistance to receiving. And the only thing that stands in the way of resistance to receiving is, resentment, anger, fear, frustration, and all the 7 negative emotions. And the only thing that stands in the way of ever achieving anything that we want is ourselves. And so as we open up and love ourselves more, and the love of ourselves projected onto whatever it is that we want to experience is what brings that into our experience. Where our thoughts go, our experiences flow. So
that's beautiful. Now, Harrison, so one of the things that to bring this kind of all together and integrate all this, you teach us how we can do this cellularly, and that is probably the deepest experience I believe that we can have as human beings. How do we integrate all this at a cellular level? This is part of the magic of what you teach. Tell us a little bit about that.
There are some very simple things. Now, part of the thing, I want to qualify that before I begin here. So in order to integrate something, we have to be, again, in the thought place and into the I am place of the love of whatever it is we want to integrate. So in order to release any negative emotions, we can do a number of different exercises. A lot of people add meditation to what they do, and meditation is a powerful force in calming the mind. And in calming the mind, then we get the image clearly. The image, the clarity of the image is also the acceleration of what happens into our lives. And again, we only have to do one thing. Our job to manifest anything is to simply hold the image in as clear a state as possible and keep coming back to it with no contradiction. So what I'm going to, let's talk about, what keeps us from experiencing, an image, and that is the I am worthy or I am unworthy type situation. So sometimes it helps to go through a process like what I'm about to give you. But the very first portion of creation, reality creation, any way that you want to experience things, is to move into a state of relaxed awakening. In other words, you want to use meditation or some breathing exercise that resonates best with you. You want to take 5 or 10 minutes to center yourself and expand your awareness. Stay open into a gentle rhythmic rhythm of breath control where you allow any thoughts that enter your mind to leave so that you clear yourself out. Just continuously deep, measured breaths. And then the oxygenation in the inhale will start to clean what's inside of your mind and inside of your body, and the release or the exhaling takes the toxics of those, the chemical reactions of those thoughts out until you can get clear. Sometimes it takes just a few minutes, but if you do go into a deep state of rhythmic breathing for a while, you start to clear all those things that are just kind of rolling around in your head that you haven't controlled for X amount of time. And then if you want to start to become worthy, what you want to do is you want to locate the event in your memory. And if you want to locate the event in your memory, that has been the first event. This is sort of an NLP technique. The first event that caused you to, in your subconscious mind, has now been buried. But the first event that caused you to feel unworthy, or that you made a decision about, like, I don't want to have anything to do with money because it just causes pain and anger. The first time you ever thought that, it programs your mind. And then from that point on, because you've given it a lot of deep emotional content, by doing that deep emotional content, it programs your mind and your experience. It gives you a self-image around what you have asked for there. And then everything else is compared to the first event. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to locate that first event in our consciousness. Direct your awareness to your sense of unworthiness or guilt or anger or fear and whatever you're currently feeling. But don't try to push your consciousness in any direction. Just simply ask for the first event and let go. Your subconscious will take you there. Then don't judge what comes up. Experience it like a movie or in a book, right? As you experience it like a movie or in a book, it's just something that's going by you that you're kind of watching. You're the observer and not the participant at this point. So your first time doing this, you're going to likely reach a significant event in your lifetime that will that will not be the initial event that caused everything. You're going to look at something that has emotional intensity for you that happens sometime afterwards. But if you keep doing this, you'll eventually come onto the very first event. So whatever comes forward, let it come. And then you're going to return to the present moment, and you're going to, carry your awareness to the first event with you into the now, from the now into the first event. So how does it inform your current experience, right? Does your first event, does it help you? Does it help you understand what caused your sense of fear and guilt or unworthiness originally? And if so, then the experience for the lesson is to let it go. So just release it. You know how to let something go. It's like having a fist. When you're holding something, you've got a fist to hold it. To let it go is just to open up your hand and let it drop. The same thing happens with your feeling. All you got to do is unclench yourself for a moment, and then it drops. So understand that the past doesn't exist. There's only the now, only the present. So from that point, now you've got the first event. You've found the first event that has caused a conclusion that influenced all the other, that started a chain reaction influencing all the other events. But now that you have brought that first event into your consciousness, you're bringing it into the light from the subconscious into the conscious, so that now you can take a real look at what that was that caused your fear or guilt or unworthiness. And now the object is, once you're looking at what that really was, just decide to be free. Release the significant event. You free yourself from its power, and then choose in this moment to be free from here on in. Choose to release that event as it's and the negative effects it's had on your life. You choose to release your anger, your fear, your sense of unworthiness, and anything else you're feeling, and instead choose joy, love, and worthiness. Be certain in all of this so that you never have to change that choice. So whatever happened, choose the fact that, you can be okay with this. It happened. There's no changing it, and there's no changing the actual experience because it is what it is. But now you can choose to love the experience and say, wow, that was the teacher was that, it's created a series of negative things in my life. So now that I'm choosing to be free, it no longer has to do that. And then after that, once you've chosen joy or love or worthiness for the event, you're released from it. And then just check in periodically if you start to feel anything else. You may find that there's more things for you to go back on and repeat. But bottom line is, if you do this each time you feel blocked or whatever the case may be, you can simply, or unconscious or anything like that, you can simply make that choice from the state of love. Everything that you love heals. If you love something in the here and now, it heals in that presence. Presence is what heals all things, the state of love. So you don't have to do any of this in any real, kind of flamboyant fashion or practice it every day or any of that kind of stuff. All you got to do is bring love to the point of where, your negativity was, and choose to be free now from this point on with your love. Okay, I choose to love this experience, and from here on I choose to be free of all the negative things that ever happened to it. And now I want only positive things so that I can do that. And it's as simple as that. It's not a difficult experience. So all the things that people go through, again, where they search and it's so complex and they can't find themselves and they don't know themselves, they have to answer these questions. The question is, who am I? And, what am I feeling? So as you get in touch with your feelings in the here and now, you know who you are. You are the other. You are what you're experiencing and seeing. And that's all we ever are. Our awareness is a comprehensive understanding of what's going on.
I love it. Harrison, again, I just love listening to you. You have some incredible stories of people that are able to or have turned their lives around due to some of the incredible things that you teach. Could you share some of those stories with us?
God, there's like hundreds of them. There isn't a week that goes by that I don't get some sort of a testimonial about something that has helped change somebody's life. I know that even in my own relationship with Marbeth, when we've helped change her life. I know that, in talking to you in a conversation on the way to Calgary one day, your experiences. I have people who have gone from poverty to wealth. I have people who have gone from, just in the last few months, I've had people manifest probably more than a few $100,000 for themselves, triple their incomes, move from sicknesses and depression into instantaneous health. Spontaneous healings, actually, we've had a few of those. We've had people go through definite relationship changes with themselves as well as with other people. People who were deeply affected by little things start to become clear and start to look at the big picture, and then now they become cosmically aware. Their lives open up. They feel coherent. They are light as a feather. They experience joy as opposed to fear or anger or all kinds of things. Just this last couple of weeks, we had somebody triple their income in a matter of 2 weeks. 2 weeks, they tripled their weekly amount. They have a business, and in 2 weeks, they've been tripling their income every week since. So that was one thing. We also had somebody who was in a very dark, abusive relationship, and in a matter of just a couple of sessions in the classes and in some of this information, they turned themselves around and decided to have a new reality, and the new reality is working just perfectly. They start to dress better, they're attracting better partners, they're looking at the causes of things, and they're feeling happy, which is attracting to them money, people, places, things. I can't even tell you some of the stories. I have some favorite stories of big stuff, but on an everyday basis,
You had a sculptor once, too, right? Tell us about, what was your friend's name? Sabine?
Well, his situation when he came to me, he was deeply in debt. He could not even pay for his daughter's education. He lives in New York. He couldn't pay for his studio. Now, he's a sculptor. He has to have a studio. It can't be that he does sculpt it at home because he does these 18-foot, the bronze statues that he does. They're mythological creatures, the mythological gods, and a number of other things. He's trying to portray the human condition in multiplicity of ways with an enlightened, with the process of bringing in enlightenment. So in that process, really, when I met him, he's about to go bankrupt. His wife and he were splitting, and he couldn't pay for his daughter's education. In a matter of about 14 weeks, he manifested not only $250,000, tax-free, given to him as sort of a gift for something that he didn't expect. He also manifested an absolute, and you've been there.
Yes, I have. You bet I have.
A studio, a beautiful studio in downtown New York on 28th. In
Manhattan, yep.
In Manhattan, which the real estate is amazing, and this is all glassed-in property, and it's on a major street for art stuff. And so he was able, with the $250,000, to pay for his 6-year-old daughter's education all the way through her college. He put that away for her in a fund. He was able to, because he was now feeling good about his energy and utilizing the principles that were given, he was now connecting with his wife because he was feeling better about himself, and their love started blossoming again. They have a very rich and very wonderful marriage now. His daughter feels secure. There's no more, kind of anger inside the household. The people around him are constantly presenting him with opportunities. He's been now in, give or take, since that time, which is only like a year ago, he's probably been in about 60 magazines. He's been in a couple of films, and he's produced a few films. And, even Elton John has looked at his work and is still in the process of deciding whether or not to buy. But he's attracting people like Elton John. Elton John called him. He didn't call Elton John. And people like that. His sculptures are going into forums and forefront vestibules of large government buildings and in the homes of very, very wealthy people. And prior to that, he was having very little sales success. He was doing it, but it was rare and usually in a desperate mode. Now it's in abundant mode. It's coming to him continuously.
I love it. I love it. So, Harrison, you, like I said, thank goodness that wonderful day you were able to break out of this place that you were in many, many years ago and walk into the brilliance and greatness that you are today. And I really appreciate you're always keeping people in mind and doing special things for them, and this is no different. You've created a way where individuals can connect with you and learn from you. So, folks, I would encourage you to go right now to www.awakeningtoabundance.com/IAM, and that's IAM. Harrison, could you just take a few minutes and share with us what great things you have in store for them there?
Sure. The IAM effect really, well, let me approach it from this angle. I mean, when we are in a state of mind, what happens to us is that through that state of mind, our feelings create a magnetic field that completely surrounds us. And in that magnetic field, it's through the magnetism of that field that we attract everything in our lives that we want. The words I am create an instantaneous magnetic field. And that determines whether or not our field is positive or negative. And what determines whether or not our fields are positive or negative are our feelings. And our I ams are controlled completely by our states of being and our thoughts, which feelings follow the thoughts. So it's a very, very simple experience. So in the I am, we start off with a state of being. In the I am effect, we start off with the understanding of a state of being. We move to the laws of the universe, because in the laws, in the state of being, once we have control of understanding our magnetic field and what that means on the quantum level, that means that there is simply a field of infinite intelligence out there, which is invisible. When we create and we impress an image or a thought on that field of invisible intelligence, that is the creation process. And as we hold it, the magnetism and the vibrancy or the vibration and the frequency of that field becomes specific, which then must bring it into the physical plane. So all that is determined by particular laws, including the law of cause and effect. So when you start to work with the I am effect, you start to work with the beingness, which creates the thoughts, the speech, the actions that magnetize that field in the way that you want to have it done by your desire and not by default. We work with the laws of cause and effect so that we know that there's a sequence to the way things happen, and we know that what we have to do to make the sequence work to serve us in terms of whatever it is we desire. We know that our lives are really created by the images and thoughts of our mind, which is what imprints this invisible field around us of quantum, if you will, or source energy, intelligent energy. We know that the things that created from that place, in terms of the thoughts, create a programmed experience of who we are. But as we add particular principles to it, like the principle of self-confidence and certainty and purpose, it accelerates the process. As we add love and eagerness and excitement and joy to our process, that accelerates the reception of what we've got, because that eliminates the resistance in between us and what we want. The way that we experience anything is by integrating it into ourselves, becoming that thing. So when we have an image that's out there, it's away from us. When we bring that image closer, it starts to come into our bodies. And when it comes into our bodies, when we actually feel the image as if we've already manifested it, it then becomes our experience in the physical world.
So, Harrison, are these some incredible, again, this wisdom that you have, it just baffles me. I just love it. Are these some of the things that they're going to be finding when they go to the link that I gave them?
Exactly what they're going to find.
I love it.
They're going to find this program is designed to accumulatively come into your happiness and abundance.
I love it.
So it's
wow.
It's there to serve you. It's a maturation process for new realities, if you want that, revolutionary ways of thinking, revolutionary ways of feeling. And the ultimate end result is brilliance and wealth and magic, and self-confidence with very little effort, actually no effort at all. Because
I love what you say, that what you propose and what you teach is that we don't need to drop this, do that, dance this way, be that way. It's very simple. It's very simple, right?
Yes.
And this is what you're teaching, which I think is beautiful. And I do want to say this, as we wrap up our call, as I've had the chance personally to work with Harrison, and it's been amazing, my journey to where I am today. I have to say that I owe a lot to Harrison for those days when I was going through some tough times myself, as we all do. We all do. There's no one that doesn't go through these times. And learning about the I am principles and how powerful they are. And earlier I had asked, how long does it take? Well, it takes as long as you want it to take, I guess. It depends on the vibration that you're at. But for me, it was absolutely amazing. I didn't doubt Harrison. I just did it. You know, I just did it, and I just kept doing it. And there's many things you can learn from him. And my life is drastically different than it was a couple of years ago. And I want to personally thank you for that, Harrison. It was beautiful. So any final thoughts you want to share with us before we go?
Yeah, I do. You know, I want to share with the audience that we are creating our own lives as we go. So the story we tell ourselves about ourselves is what we start to experience. It all starts from an I am. So, you know, the very story we tell ourselves to ourselves is what is happening, and no matter what, we bring that as truth into our experience. So what advice I want to give to people who are listening is to never listen to if somebody says you're less than anybody else. Never listen to anybody that says that you're limited in any way. Don't listen to anybody who says that you can't do what you want or do what you love and earn a living from it. Don't listen to if somebody says you're not as valuable or as worthy as other human beings that have lived on this planet, as even the greatest human beings. Don't listen if somebody says you're not good enough now or that you have to prove yourself in any way. Don't listen if somebody says you can't have what you love and do what you love and be who you are. You know, if you believe that puts limits on yourself. But more importantly, it's not true. Okay? And that the easiest way to create what we want is to move through a principle of spiritual maturation. The greater our spiritual maturation, the thicker our wallets. The thicker our experience, the more abundant we are. There's not a single thing that's too good for any of us. Not a single thing that's too good to be true. So we are worthy, we are deserving of everything just as we are, not that we have to change ourselves in any way, we don't have to fix anything. We're good enough now, and if you feel you don't have something that isn't right, understand that your realization and acceptance of it is the absolution for the laws of attraction, resonance, and being. And so just your realization is enough to dissolve the negative experience for you to step into the higher space to have anything you want. So this that we're doing is meant to set you free to receive unlimited life, whatever way you want to do that. So that's my final words.
All right, folks, there you go. I mean, if you're not up and jumping around and ready to go now, we might need to put that, defibrillator on you. So, folks, go to www.awakeningtoabundance.com/I-am, and that's I-A-M. Harrison, thank you so very much for sharing with us today. It's always a pleasure to be with you for a little bit of time. I look forward to our next call together.
All right, in the words of the hospital emergency team, clear.
You're nuts.